which is Christ. Something to think about. If you read chapter 11 of Daniel and you get to verse 35, 135 prophecies, they've already been fulfilled. You can check and look through the history books and look through the scriptures and get to see 135 prophecies were fulfilled. And there's still those that are to come. Only God could put that together. Now, you know what people do is they go and they look at the scriptures and they go, well, this is really easy. All they had to do is they just needed to write it after it had happened. Because if I come to you guys now and I start writing to you all the things that happened last year and 20 years ago and 30, you're not going to be impressed at all. But what's happened with this story, the scriptures that we have and all the sources outside of it as well, it forces us to realize that the prophecies were given when they were given before the events happened. And that puts it in a completely different category, that they can't know what to do with it other than to see that there's a God who is timeless and he can see the beginning from the end. Now these kings and rulers and people will think that they are so smart. They think that they're outsmarting everybody around, and if there was a God, well, he can't touch me because I'm a couple steps ahead of him. But God is in control. He knows the future. He holds the future. And he also, though we struggle with this, he determines the future. Some of the things that are going on in our lives and around us, personally, locally, in the government, they have to do with things that are still to come and things that need to line up. And we're a part of the story. And we need to keep fixed upon him, the author and the perfecter of faith. As we continue reading on here in Daniel in chapter 11, then the king of the south will grow strong along with one of his princes who will gain ascendancy over him and obtain dominion. His dominion will be a great dominion indeed. And after some years, they will form an alliance. And the daughter of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to carry out a peaceful arrangement. This is called an alliance, usually done in ancient times through the marrying of one king's family to another royal family that they want to have an alliance with. You just think of it this way. If you have children and you wanted to have peace and were determined for it, and agreed to it, if your son and your daughter and your offspring are now married to their children, then now that changes just about everything in your mind of how you look at that nation and what would happen if it was ransacked and taken and burned and pillaged and everything else that would happen. That's the exact reason. Nobody wants that for their children. At least they shouldn't. And they'd have these alliances, but they didn't always work. And sometimes, as we read on here, there is great promises made, but not fulfilled. Verse 6, after some years they will form an alliance, and the daughter of the king of the south will come to the king of the north to carry out a peaceful arrangement. But she will not retain her position of power, nor will he remain with his power. But she will be given up along with those who brought her in the one who sired her, as well as he who supported her in those times. But one of those descendants of her line will arise in his place, and he will come against their army and enter the fortress of the king of the north, and he will deal with them and display great strength. Also, their gods will take the metal images and precious vessels of silver and the gold, and he will take into captivity to Egypt. And he on his part will refrain from attacking the king of the north for some years. Then the later will enter the realm of the king of the south, but will return by his own land. His sons will mobilize and assemble a multitude of great forces, and one of them will keep on coming and overflow and pass through, that he may again wage war up to the very fortress. The king of the south will be enraged and go forth and fight with the king of the north. Then the latter will rise a great multitude, but that multitude will be given into the hand of the former. When the multitude is carried away, his heart will be lifted up, then will cause 10,000s to fall. But still yet he will not prevail. For the king of the north will again rise, a greater multitude than the former. And after an interval of some years, he will press on with a great army and much equipment. Now in those times many will rise up against the king of the south. The violent ones among your people will also lift themselves up in order to fulfill the vision, but they will fall down. Then the king of the north, do you see this? The king of the north, the king of the south, the king of the north, there'll be a little peace, and the king of the north, and they'll fight again. Will come up a siege ramp and capture a well-fortified city, and the forces of the south will not stand their ground, not even their choicest troops, for there will be no strength to make a stand. But he who comes against him will do as he pleases, and no one will be able to withstand him. And he will also stay for a time in the beautiful land with destruction in his hand. He will set his face to come with the power and the whole kingdom, bringing with him a proposal of peace, which he will put into effect. He will also give him the daughter of the woman to ruin it, and she will not take a stand for him or be at his side. This is going to continue to go on. This is days in the life of those battling around Israel. As it goes on, it gets so bad as nations and kings are rising up around that we see that there is a ruler who comes in, and you see the abomination that's done in the temple, where they take and they have pigs that are slaughtered on the altar. They did all kinds of things to defile the sanctuary. They did all kinds of things to attack God's promise and his plan. God is not going to be mocked. And these things that he allowed, we don't understand why it goes to the north and the south and north and south, and they're making alliances and fight. Perhaps in some way it was to weaken the forces so that when there was the Maccabean revolt, that perhaps that was a part of it. But God doesn't need numbers for a battle anyways. He can do it through banging of pots and pans and horns. He did it with Gideon. He did it with Jericho. The walls can fall. The thing about kings, and what we need to know is we've been told to pray for them. And not just the godly. We're told that God has, well, I'll read in Jeremiah. He says, at one moment I might speak concerning a nation or concerning a kingdom to uproot, to pull down or to destroy it. If that nation against which I have spoken turns from its evil, I will relent concerning the calamity I plan to bring upon it. Or at another moment, I might speak concerning a nation or concerning a kingdom to build up or to plant it. If it does evil in my sight by not obeying my voice, then I will think better of the good which I had promised to bless it. These nations think that they're making decisions, and again, as I said, outsmarting God, and they're not. And God, who's outside of time, is allowing us to make decisions, though he knows full well where they're all going to lead, and he won't be caught off guard. If you think a chess game's impressive, the different variations and possibilities, it's just a chess game. What about the whole world that he has in his hands and all of time? But what we get to see from what I just read in Jeremiah 18 is that he really wants and desires that people would turn their hearts from the evil to God, to repent and confess. And there's an overriding principle of God's intervention, forgiveness,